Good afternoon, folks. It's the 21st of April 2024. I'm going to take a little walk here. Get out of the house for a minute. Very, very nice conditions out here. We're in the middle to high 60s. Just a little light breeze. Overcast conditions. Perfect for walking the trail. Last year at this time, Western Michigan University came in here. This is their property, and they burned this off. This whole section leading way over here into the trees, and it was pretty cool. I came over here and covered part of it, and they killed a lot of invasive species that way before the nesting birds got in and everything on the ground. And of course the ticks, so forth, they controlled that. And it was successful, because now you come through here and take a look and see it's all come back. And you have a little bit of some of the old burned sticks right there. Okay, but trees and everything were unharmed the way they do it. And kind of reminds you of in South Africa when they go out and burn the veld. WMU has been back here with their gator patrol and their materials, and have spread some really nice material over the trail. But we're going to take the Foos path here. You can see another path right here. Why not? Opens up in there to a nice little meadow. Somebody has positioned some gravel here. See some stones, and a little layout here and here. Yeah, don't know about that. This is a nice little spot to get a lay of the land back here, especially before the leaves come on the trees, starting to come out on the shrubbery and so forth. This area right here always reminds me of a Civil War battlefield, kind of around Manassas. It's just is what it looks like. You could come out here and make a movie and stage it here back in that day, and it would be believable. Yep. But I'm sure that there was nothing like that happened here. Back in the day, you don't know, with the Native Americans and what may taken place around these lakes and so forth. I don't have any knowledge of that, nor have I read anything about any struggle right here. But up by Hastings, a little south of Hastings, in that area up there, there was some fighting there. I know about that. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future video. See all these thickets here along the trail. A lot of rabbits in here. Hide a lot of game. It's quite a nice little thicket right there. Yep. But it's right along the trail. Of course, all this was burned last spring, and down here into the woods and up into the woods, all of the small weeds and so forth in the woods, they burned out. And of course, the trees were all unscathed. They know how to do that. I'm following a deer track here. We'll just call it an animal track. You know, here through here, and it meanders up and around, following it. You can see where some of this was burned last year. And through here. See a little deer track, little trail, call it an animal trail. Here's some scat. That's raccoon. Here's a spider hole. No punji in the bottom. Open hole, open spider. Boy, we hope not. A little low spot down here with some water. All little animal trails lead to cover or water. And if you think about it, look at this little trail right here. So do man's. Our roads lead to cover and to water. It's a little bit different technology, right? This would be known as a well-beaten trail right here. This is certainly well beaten. It's over here in the edge of the old growth woods. We're facing towards the west. A lot of very large old growth deadfall. Somebody over here has piled up branches and made like a little shelter there. Over here towards the north, another very large tree that's down. We're going to walk up in here. And this section of the woods here really shows a lot of heavy wind damage. Some old trees that are down, and of course covered with moss. Others have those the Chinese climbing vines going up and choking them off. See them down here at the base of this tree. Yep. An invasive species. As you can see, the wind has toppled this big tree. This is a massive tree, at least 50 foot tall when it was standing. You can see it's completely pulled it right up by the roots. Now this has been on the ground several years. Back here too, you can see all the big deadfall behind it, and then beyond it as well. Okay, a little squirrel over here playing there. This tree right here as well, it's not as large. We'll take a look at the base of that one. And this one had the large vines. I read about these since my other video, and that they're a Chinese vine, and they can be cut at the base. You can cut them off and they'll die. But once they get up high enough up into the tree limbs and so forth, they've killed the trees. They eventually kill the trees. Here's one right here that down in the wind. And it looks like pretty much the same story all along here. Massive tree there, uprooted. Beyond it, that little forest expedient dwelling. Maybe it's a Sasquatch house. There's some deer droppings right there. We talked about South Africa, that'd be known as spoor. We're tracking the spoor of the tares. All right, no more about that. Old deadfall here. Look at the stump. Okay, and then the rest of it. And you can see when they burned last year, there's a little bit of blackening on here. Just a little. And the rest of this whole woods looks just like this. Deadfalls all around. I would not want to come out here in the wind. Windy enough right now, and it's barely blowing. Yeah, there's a lot more of that hanging up above here. And this is just part of it. All right. Let's take off. I'll be right back. And again, you can see a little bit of the charring from last year. The old dead piece right there. A little bit of charring down here on some of these fallen timbers and that piece, but that's it. Another few days, these daffodils will be up. A few right there, a few up ahead. A lot of these trees have been deadfallen for so long. Look at the roots here in the foreground, and behind it they look like triceratops. Yep. Another nice little garden here of flowers as soon as they come up. These, of course, are bulbs. They can be harvested, brought home, planted, and they will propagate, and they will keep coming up year after year. Yep. Very pretty yellow. These are going to remain here. Another little grouping. Very old stumps. All right, find my way out of here. Let's see, the moss grows on the north side of the tree. Ha! Yeah, right. This particular tree has moss growing all the way around it. My compass is just spinning like I've got a magnet held right up near it. So which way do I go? Which way do I go? I don't know. It's overcast. Can't rely on the celestial navigation element. Well, I ran through the brambles and he ran through the bushes. I ran through the places, but a rabbit couldn't go. Sounds like a song. I found a couple of daffodils that have bloomed. There you go. And right next to it. Very nice. Okay, now we're on one of the Asylum service roads here. The old Asylum stood right up here along the top of this ridge. It large, multi-story, I think 1920s, 1930s when they built it. It was rectangular in shape, and it's all gone. The foundations, everything. Little remnants back here of a couple things I'll show you as we're walking along. Of course, the old trees all knocked down. This was one of the service roads. We'll go down here and see what's up. A few more daffodils. Of course, all of these larger trees were witness trees to the asylum, and possibly witness trees to those that were buried out here that are in unmarked graves. Well, here's another daffodil or two. And there's another daffodil. Couple here. Wow. Deep woods daffodils. Y'all might want to know what kind of trees are back here. You can't tell by the bark sometimes. You look at the leaves. Oaks. There's a little piece of the old cement pavement. It's all crushed up now. Here's a little meadow of purple violets. And in the background, there's some daffodils there. Now there's an area right there with 4 old growth trees in a row. Right here. Behind them on the hill, going up there quite a ways, are daffodils in the background. A couple of them have come out. This side of the trail, well, the road, another one of these structures. Let's go take a look. I was just told by a passerby that these were Native American and that they were constructed by Native American youth from Western Michigan University, and we're out here cleaning things up and so forth, and they decided this was a few years ago. This has been here for some years, and they put one of these little stands up like this, and then you get underneath it with all your gear. See, there's quite a bit of room, and they placed it on the eastern side of the tree, the western side against the weather, down slope from the military ridge of the hill. All very smart and very cool and very daffodilly, which is cool too for this time of year. Okay, you can see along this area old dead trees. Starting to get a little windy. One of the other remnants, there's just 3 or 4 of these along the ridge here. These were fence poles separating the yards, side properties of the asylum, the insane asylum. And you can go as far as the wire. And there's one of the fence posts. You go in a ways, you'll find more. And then that's it. And we're walking right along here where the building set proper. Of course, all the smaller trees here weren't there. There's some more roads out here. It's all been raised. You can take an overprint and lay it over this property, and you wouldn't believe all the buildings that were out here. We used to come out here in high school when they closed it, look around, but it was only once or twice. There's, we're really into that. There was wheelchairs inside, bedpans, all kinds of stuff, gurneys. But all that disappeared over the years. The graffiti artists came in here, broke the windows, of course, all that. Paranormals out here, legitimately, with permission. And then the place was raised. Colony Farm. The Kalamazoo Institution for the Insane. This was quite a place back in the day. It's all moved down on Oakland Drive, east of Howard Street now, where they have the big water tower that looks like a castle tower. That's where it's at now. And it used to be much bigger. They closed 3 or 4 of the buildings that were associated with that over the years, transitioned them into other programs, a halfway house for those returning from incarceration, returned offenders, returned citizens is now the term. No more can you be called a returned offender or a convict or ex-con or anything like that. Now you're a returned citizen. And if that term, if it doesn't fit the then you must have quit. I'll be right back. What do they say? A rose is none less a rose or sweeter by another name or something like that. I probably messed that one all up. But I can guarantee you that whatever name they call it, returned citizen, you know, ex-con, old yard bird, whatever they want to call it don't mean anything as long as you're out. You're on this side of the wire, and you can come up with any name you want to come up with. But the fact is, that person's on this side of the wire, they're out. They served their time, they paid their debt to society, many times for the most part. Some of them not enough. But I'm not the judge. I'm just the executioner. Be right back. Not much more than another month and this field will be thick, high, loaded with animals. Down here will be grown up. You won't be able to see what we're looking at right now. You can see they've come along with chainsaws and mostly cut through some of the dead trees, allowing them to blow over in the wind. And what is it? Dry out in the sun and blow away in the wind? What Eastwood say about there's 2 or 3 things you can do with dog, you know what? You can let it sit out in the sun and dry out and blow away in the wind. You can step on it and squash it. He said to that guy, that young guy in that elevator, so you better take your advice. He said, take my advice, watch out where the dog poops you. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that was quite an elevator talk. If that was on camera, even though that kid was a young hood and got away with it, yeah, they would have made millions off that. Anyways, deer down here are right there. There were 2 bucks in my backyard this morning. Of course, their horns had dropped. They shed a while ago, but one was about a 4-year-old, the other about a 3. I can't tell what these animals are. There appears to be 3 down there. Let's go down and scare them. Hear them, scare them. All right, baby. See how close we can get. All right, there are several animals down here. 4 at least. There might be 5, 2 right there. A couple more down to the left and in the cover. Pretty soon they'll be the does will be throwing those spring lammies. That's what my daughter calls them. I call them spring lammies, because that's what she told me to call them. Of course, I had a reminder that these are fawns, that sheep have the spring lammies. She goes, oh yeah, that's right. Well, what the hell? I love my daughter. Now, several years ago, before Western Michigan University improved the trails and pathway back here, okay, we were looking eastbound next to Parkview. Now we're looking westbound next to Parkview, going to the corner of Drake Road right there. All right. Well, this little trail that we're on right here, this grass strip, this little narrow landing pad, if you had ultralight maybe. This was the trail. This is what we had to walk. And then some funding was made available, and down south were made available, and they improved the whole trail side, beautiful pathway. Bicycles, baby carriages, running, walking, walk your dog all the way around the property. Well, halfway around the property. And then, of course, right inside the little fence right here, the old natural trail, if you'd like to walk or push or whatever it. And then right up here they have a little crossover, and we'll look at this a second and I'll explain the road. Remember the roadway that we were on a little earlier? Down, I mentioned, was down at the bottom and went around the bottom part of the asylum. Okay, this is where it came out here onto Parkview, right across the street from the very famous and historical Gibbs House, part of Western Michigan University. The Gibbs Farm all behind it, now the Technology Center and their campus, their technology campus. And you've seen those videos earlier. And right here is what we used to call the back wall of our post in West Germany, Friedberg, Germany, Ray Barracks, the Fußgate. And this is a Fußgate. We'll take the rest of the trail up here just about, a little over a quarter of a mile to the parking pad. You can see down here a real nice ditch. It gets a little deeper as you go along, helping keep any runoff from the road contained, not getting down into this wetland and so forth. We have a little bird's nest here caught in the vines from last season. And so forth. And so on. Talking about the Civil War earlier, this would remind a person, two different places. The wall area and just behind it, Marie's Heights, Fredericksburg, Virginia. And also the Bloody Lane at Antietam. I've stood in both, walked the lengths thereof. Of course, as I've mentioned before, there is a plan on widening this to 4 lanes. Of course, these little trees here along the shoulder of the road, those would have to go, and that would be about the new shoulder of the road. Both sides, and go up over the viaduct and then towards the new the areas out there that's going to be built up on very soon. You've seen the gas lines infrastructure and other things being run. Yeah, they can't start building the big stuff till they put the big stuff in, and you've seen it. Okay, right back here in the embankment, see right there, is what I'm going to call a woodchuck den. Possibly could be fox. These are the brambles down here, very thick, very brambly. Could be, but I'd say probably more like a woodchuck right there. You can see where all the dirt has been pulled out from around there on the embankment. Yep, one way to find out. Toss in an M67. No, we're not going to do that. And all of this was burned off last spring. Down here walking through here, filming all the smoke. A little fire creeping across the growth on the ground. And as you can see, trees are all good. The stuff that's not really good is gone. Okay, we're just starting to head downhill towards the east, and you can see we have a little culvert drain pipe underneath the road here. Drains the ditch from the opposite side of the road. Comes down here on this side mainly because this is the drain field. Going all the way down, and then under some tiles there we're going to come up on, and then into Little Asylum Lake. When we get a real heavy rain, this is 4 feet deep and 8 feet wide and flowing down through here, and it gets down here to this little dam that they made of these rocks, and it turns into a rapids, and then it goes over the top of this. There's also a tube below it, and it drops down. It's lower there. Man, it really comes sluicing down through here. Then it hits the next dam. Okay, see it coming up right here, and it upwells it again. Another rapids. Reminds you of Hermit on the Colorado River. And then you drop down into the hole again, and then she flows on down through here, and I'll show you where it really hits. This low part of the side rock right here has been covered with water. Seen it. Right down here is where she really gets ripping, and then hits the large culvert right here, and it will wash up and splash up and be all up in here and all that, and then an hour later it's all gone. It's all down and washed down into the lake. Well, again, folks, thanks for coming along. Nice little walk today. Beautiful weather conditions, no sun in our eyes. Got some flowers in, wildlife, flora und fauna. Jawohl. Yes, and all that. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks to each and every one of my near over 1,900 subscribers. On the way to that magic 2,000 number. It's just magic to me. I couldn't think in the foggiest I'd even get 10 subscribers. You hear vloggers and YouTubers all talk about that. They couldn't believe anybody would watch them, and I know the feeling. I'm very, very thankful. I'm very thankful for each and every one of you. Those that are new subscribers and those that are subscribing from overseas and foreign lands, welcome aboard. Hopefully you'll find these interesting. I'll try to make them as interesting as I can. We are going back to the Gilmore Car Museum soon. I have to take some video of that building that we looked at. There's some real history in there and some real names of famous people who own those vehicles from that Duesenberg on up, actually. Can't wait to get back out there and do that one. See you in the next one. Have a great and safe day.